Hello, I'm Katherine O'Fallon, the Executive Director of the Marine Research Hub, leading efforts to advance ocean solutions and innovation in Florida and beyond. By 2030, the global ocean economy is projected to reach $3 trillion and 40 million jobs. And Florida, surrounded by water, is uniquely positioned to lead the way with marine solutions with a global impact. At the Marine Research Hub, we connect stakeholders, elevate oceanographic research, and commercialize marketable solutions that drive investment opportunities, create sustainable jobs, and ultimately protect our marine and coastal environments. Founded in 2017, the Marine Research Hub bridges the gap between scientific discovery and real-world application. Through collaboration between researchers, entrepreneurs, policymakers, and industry leaders, we accelerate commercialization, investment, and ecosystem building, creating lasting impact for our oceans and coastal communities. We are just beginning to make waves, and the potential is limitless. Join us as we fuel the blue economy through innovation, sustainability, and strategic investment from Florida to the entire world. Welcome to the Marine Research Hub and the Blue Economy Podcast. I'm Katherine O'Fallon, your host today, and we're here today with two of my very good friends. We're going to be diving into some topics about innovation and insights into the blue economy and really what we're happening here with collaboration in South Florida and the potential for going beyond. So with me today is Jacob and Justin. Jacob is the CEO and founder of SailPlan, and Justin is the CEO president of DeAngelo Marine Exhaust. And we're sitting in DeAngelo's warehouse space, building all the operations. The magic happens here with a lot of stuff happening behind us. It's a little warm because it's June, but that's okay because we got fans on us. And it's quiet because everyone left for the day.
Yes.
But I'd love to, we're going to really get into how you guys, met, the innovation, the business of what you guys are doing. But first, I want you guys to just tell, kind of recap and tell our viewers and audience a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll get into that deep dive in. So Jacob, why don't we start with you, just sharing a little bit about SailPlan and how you got into SailPlan a little bit, and we'll probably come back to it more too.
Sure. So I'm Jacob Ruytenbeek, founder and CEO of SailPlan, and started SailPlan about 5 years ago with an eye of bringing AI to the maritime industry. And we do that by equipping ships and now yachts with high-resolution data streams that help us save fuel, reduce emissions, and predict maintenance and engine failures without this technology. And it's really exciting. It's a massive step forward for the industry, and I'm excited to tell you more.
All right. Exactly. It's a lot to do with AI. I mean, AI is a hot topic right now in every world that you talk about. I mean, I went to 3 seminars in a row on AI from different sectors. And so the maritime sector is definitely, catching up with some stuff. So I know I want you to tell us more about where some of the technology is already placed.
Sure.
In just a minute. But Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do here at DeAngelo?
Yep. President and CEO of DeAngelo Marine Exhaust. We manufacture, engineer, design the marine exhaust system for all the lovely yachts that you see here in Fort Lauderdale. A lot of government contracts, a lot of commercial work. We do land-based generators, basically anything kind of diesel exhaust related. That's us. We have 7 or 8 engineers on staff, constantly dealing with naval architects and boat builders. And what we try to do is we try to go from the engine to the outlets, do it in a way that helps the vessel perform optimally.
So let's talk a little bit about how you both got into your positions that you guys are in right now, because DeAngelo has been around for a long time. And SailPlan is newer. How old is SailPlan?
You're about 5 years old.
Woohoo! And happy birthday. 5 years. Almost 5 years. And how old is DeAngelo?
We are on our 39th year.
All right. So a little older.
Take a fine wine then.
There you go.
8. I don't think it's better with 8. So Jacob, let's start. How did you, entrepreneur, founder, SailPlan, what led you to where you're at today?
So there was a couple of things. My dad was a marine electrician. So I grew up here in Fort Lauderdale, helping him build up and wire boats up nights and weekends after school and high school and then college. And while I loved it, I loved being around the water, I wanted to go a different path. I actually began my career in the space industry, helping the United States Air Force, United Launch Alliance, and SpaceX figure out ways to launch national security missions more effectively and embrace startup technology into that space. And I was hooked. One of the things that I realized was the space industry had better data penetration than ships at sea. We had real-time video streaming from rockets for the last 15, 20 years. And I stopped to think, like, I wonder what we could do with data at sea. Like, what are the barriers? And Starlink you could see coming online and OneWeb, and the cost of bandwidth was dropping rapidly. And it was only time until the internet that we take for granted today and real-time data expanded out to the last data frontier, which was the ocean. And so SailPlan got ahead of that problem by building a high resolution data platform, helping ships collect their data, various different data sets that didn't talk to one another to extrapolate insights. And we tailored that system in ways that would help these ships save fuel. And to date, we work with some of the largest cruise lines around, household names for anybody who's taken a cruise most of the time. We also are really fortunate to be working with the US Navy, helping them predict engine failures and machinery failures using the same type of technology that also saves the war fighters fuel, which helps them fight more effectively because they can reduce the logistics needs on their ships when you save fuel. So one set of technology that we've developed has all these different applications. One of the things we did when we met Justin is the light bulb started going off that there's a really solid use case to help predict engine failures, save fuel, and reduce emissions in the yachting space, in the workboat space. And one of the things I loved about Justin, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but he had an eye towards the future, and it made a collaboration with our companies possible. So.
And we're gonna definitely get into how you guys met and this birth of collaboration that happened. But you're right. Your data drives a lot of decisions. And the more we know, the more information that's available can help predict a lot of ways to redistribute redistribute load, save fuel, and then ultimately emissions, which is good for the environment.
Right.
So we're going to come back a little bit more about SailPlan and how it works with DeAngelo. But so you came from space into, there's a lot of overlap from space into the marine sector. People don't really think about it that way, but the oceans and the marine space with space. Florida's a space coast, but we also have the reefs. And in order to, do a lot of space things, you actually use the ocean for a lot of training. So the collaboration is actually more than most people realize.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, growing up here, I'm a diver. I would see some of the changes happening on our reefs firsthand and the evolution of those changes. 20, 25 years ago, we were talking about Coke cans on the beach, right? And then it became monofilament fishing line problems, which are still a massive problem today. And then it was the tires. But when I go diving, what I notice is where all the fish go. Yeah. Where are all the fish? They're not there. And the reef's changing. And so you have to ask yourself, what do you really care about in this world that you want to protect and find a way to contribute to solving that problem? And I certainly don't know that I have all the answers. But one way we can help is, let's bring the data to the table so we're not guessing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in industries, what we saw was we make a lot of good faith efforts to solve problems, but there's unintended consequences. And I'll just pick out one, not to be political, but look at electric cars for a second. They solve one problem, right? They don't emit out of the tailpipe. And there's no particulate matter, which is great. And they're great for cities. But you do have to ask yourself, what about the mines?
Right.
What about the labor involved in those?
Yeah.
Are we trading one problem for another? And in the ocean space, whether it's sargassum or the reefs, the bleaching, the water temperatures, whatever it is, our goal is that we brought data to the table. We started with ships and get into the yachts, and we help provide information so that we can make appropriate decisions for the future.
And that might come up when we get to where's the future with SailPlan potentially going. So I love that it also brings back to, you grew up here and your passion for here and why you want to be involved in this space. So, and we're going to jump it now. And Justin has a completely different story. You basically stepped into this company, so tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in the role you're at now.
Yeah. So DeAngelo's been around, like I said, since 1986. This is our 39th year. Founder, Jim DeAngelo Sr., aviation welder, started doing exhaust parts with friends and family in the garage. So good at it. Took off, eventually did a boat for Roger Penske.
Wait, Penske from NASCAR, like racing Penske?
That's pretty cool.
Ah, very cool. I didn't know that.
So it's fast, crazy turbine engines. And Jim Sr. decided he's going to take a stab at the exhaust, did such a great job. You know, Penske said, hey, we're going to go half on a business here, or so the story is, right? So 50-50 company, they were able to do great work. My father then got involved and became more in 2004. And so I was going to school for business and doing some Six Sigma consulting at the time, and did that for a little while. Then decided to come here to my dad's company and said, let me apply some of those continuous improvement methodologies here. And that was going for a while. Left briefly to go start another company, Advanced Water Jet Solutions. And now I'm back full time to take over as my dad's stepping down. So a little bit different way, but here I am. And being here at DeAngelo Marine Exhaust, I'm like the luckiest guy there is. Company's been around for 40 years. It's got a great reputation in the marine industry, which is like super niche, right?
Yeah.
Think of a yacht. It's luxurious. The last thing you're going to think about is the exhaust. So there's not that many places around. So right place, right time, call it what you will. We have this great company. And now that I'm getting involved, a little bit younger, looking towards the future and growing the company, I want to expand now. I want to open up the veil and show what we have and use the name as leverage to get into some bigger and better projects. And so, you know, getting involved with Marine Research Hub, Marine Industry Association, finding Jacob, and I know we'll get into that.
Yeah.
It's just been like every day is a new adventure. It's super fun. And I get to use the name of the company to help. And so it's just been great.
Yeah. And so I think that leads kind of right into where you guys, met and kind of this collaboration. Because, all right, someone who does not know this space is thinking, well, how does AI and data technology fit into a diesel exhaust system? Like, that's the first question. Even I was like, how does this relationship, like, you guys tell me you guys are doing some work together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, how does that work?
Yeah.
So, actually, you were key in introducing Justin and I several years ago at Ocean Exchange. The Marine Research Hub played an important role in helping facilitate the introduction. And because we would be two ships passing in the night otherwise, we are the center of the marine industry. So there's so much of it here, but it is very fragmented and disconnected. And so, Justin and I had said hi at the Ocean Exchange event several times. And eventually we got to talking. And I remember, Justin, I was telling you all about SailPlan. I'm probably talking your ear off about it. And you're like, that's really neat.
Yeah.
That's really neat. We got to talk about that. And then eventually I stopped to ask you, hey, by the way, what do you do? I'm like, I run an exhaust company for marine. I said, no way.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was an important meet cute. If it was.
It's a rom-com, meet cute there.
It set the scene it set a series of steps in motion there. One of the things I love about you is you really do have a vision for taking a product that probably hasn't evolved too much, although you guys are pushing the edge on engineering capabilities. I see what you're doing with the testing. And then you started embracing sensor technology when a lot of your competitors aren't even thinking about this yet. And then you go one step forward to persistent sensing and the tap ports and the SailPlan ready exhaust, which is there today. And you are clearly ahead of your time and is making your product better and better in ways that, people eventually hopefully catch up with you on, but eventually benefit the industry. But you're a leader here.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that. But now I'll give you my selfish version of how we met and all that stuff.
Yeah, what's your version?
Yeah,
of how you met?
But no, definitely the Ocean Exchange event, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
2 years ago now.
And
Maybe
you were
3 now.
speaking or doing something. It was very clear that you were somebody and people gravitated to you. And I was like, okay. And hearing about what you said with the SailPlan technology and the exhaust emissions monitoring. Okay. So my previous 2 or 3 years here at DeAngelo, ripping my hair out because of all the problems we're having with our customers and all the IMO regulations about the particulates and the emissions and where they need to be. And you need to understand, we're dealing a lot with captains of these high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
All right. The top 1% of the 1% that has a 300-foot yacht and says, on this day, I want to go and take my family here. Well, that captain needs to make sure that trip happens. And I mean, if you think about it, we all have cars and your check engine light goes on a lot. My check engine right now my Jeep is on and it's been on for like 4 or 5 weeks. I haven't done anything about it. Okay, whatever. On a yacht, that's a problem. And so we get into trouble when that captain needs us to fix a 5-week problem in 1 week. And so it really creates difficulty for us and for the captain and so the end user. So I'm hearing Jacob talk about all these things. I'm going to networking events. He's always there. And then it was at the Sustainability Awards.
Oh, at the Innovation and Sustainability Awards at Flips.
Yep. And I see him there. I'm like, I got to grab this guy. And it's like, hey, man, I've been seeing you. I love what you're doing. You know, I know we're having all kinds of problems with emissions. We need to come up with these diesel particulate and SCR, selective catalytic reduction systems. You have some exhaust monitoring. How can, like, it's just meant to be that maybe I can use your tech in our product. And in our products, every exhaust riser that we build, we have sensor ports in there where we put our sensors in so the captains can use it to check, you know, temperatures or back pressure readings. And then talking to Jacob, he's like, oh yeah, I got a sensor for that. And it can go right to a tablet and it can shoot you a text message and it could count the particulates and it could tell you this, that, and the other. And I'm like, nah.
So it's like, it's real time data.
Real time.
Instead of, because when you say in the exhaust system, you have those ports where you could put it in, but the captain would have to do it. And how often do they not really do that?
And so as I'm presenting this to our team, I'm like, guys, talk me out of this. How is this not the next best thing? Well, Justin, you know, this, that, and the other. I'm like, all right, cool. And then it clicked on me, keep talking to Jacob, because you guys are all about data and they come from a much bigger world. So it didn't click for me right away, but I was like, oh, the data. If we can incorporate his tech into our exhaust system and have a smart marine exhaust, it'd be the first smart marine exhaust system out there. It's the data. Okay, Captain, imagine 3-4 years down the line. I mean, I'm going to know all the readings and what works on a Cummins engine versus an MTU versus a MAN engine. And I can start to get ahead of that and maybe send some text messages to the captain and said, hey, you know, you're coming up on XYZ. You might want to take a look at that because last time you did that, you lost X% fuel efficiency. And all these things, a lot of what we do is we're trying to cool the gases. So we're injecting cooling water.
Okay.
And if that water gets obstructed in any way, you're not getting the amount of water to cool it. It's a problem. And most times the captain's not going to know about this till it's too late.
And too late can cost
tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if I'm a captain and I notice my fiberglass exhaust muffler is turning brown, it's already too late. It's cooked.
Yeah.
I would have to know about that weeks in advance. And if we can set up and use his tech on one of our sensors to measure the water that's going into our exhaust and say, hey, you know, I get a ping on my message. Oh, you know, boat 1, 2, 3 just lost 30% of their water. Captain immediately gets a text message. I can call him. I can get in contact. Hey, what just happened? I'm noticing you lost water. Oh, as a matter of fact, we just ran aground in the Bahamas and I didn't think it was going to be anything, but let me check. You prevented him from cooking the whole exhaust. And that was the light bulb moment. It's like, oh my God. So, you know, then we start taking the talks and the conversation to the next level. And it was just every time I was expecting to be a barrier, there wasn't. It was like, oh, we're going to need sensors. Oh, we already got sensor ports on everything we've done. Oh, we're going to need some infrastructure. We got it here. You know, we can use their system and he's going to tell you a little bit more about it. But just the scale of what he was doing already in the cruise world, where the pleasure craft world's kind of, it lags behind.
Yeah.
And so there's a need for it. If we can bring it in there, it could be something really big. And here we are.
Here we are. So as far as, so plugging in, putting the sensors in, because you're not really changing too much of the exhaust system. You're just putting the sensors into it. So how the sensors basically, why is that important? And what types of data are you getting and how quickly do you get it?
We get it pretty instantly. We're measuring most data feeds in milliseconds. Sometimes we throttle that back to seconds or minutes, depending on the data feed. So we get it instantly. And through the instant analysis, we're able to trigger for alarms, right? That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you have an emergency, you have seconds to react before your exhaust turns brown. You want to be able to get that notification or an alarm now. Pyrometers can do this, but the problem with a pyrometer just tells you, you know, what by the time that alarms, your exhaust is already hot. Our goal is to back up from that problem and understand where it starts forming, right? Is there sand clogging the intakes or the injectors? Have you tapped off your water slot supply? Is there a problem that's latent and forming over time? And what we see is that a lot of these problems, in fact, do occur that way. So if you can get ahead of that problem, it's not about the real-time data. It's just about getting that data, seeing the trends start to correlate with one or each other, deviate from expected values, and then start informing the proper people, right? Once you have that data set, a ton of possibilities open up. You can start building and running AI agents, right? So these agents can actually call you. They can say, hey, you got a problem for me, Captain. Let's schedule a service visit, right? Which helps DeAngelo increase service revenue, but also make a happier customer.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that captain, that owner wants uptime. They want a hassle-free exhaust. They're probably happier that they get a call saying, we got a problem for me. We're proactively fixing that rather than like, hey, I'm down and now I'm mad at you or someone.
And then you also might not have the ability or the staff in order to fix it at the time they need to fix it, right?
It might be halfway across the world by that.
Yeah.
And then it's really expensive.
Data opens up these possibilities. And the way we see it is if you look at the history of data on engines, you go back 20, 30 years, the old Detroit two-stroke engines, completely mechanical. There was no data coming off that, right? And then, but engines today are equipped with thousands of data feeds. They actually have their own data buses on board called Modbus, and you can tap off them and get a computer reading of what's going on in the engine. So if you go 30 years ago, people ask, well, why would you want data from your engine? What's it going to tell you? Right? Well, if it works for the engine, then let's look at the lifeblood of that engine, the breathalyzer, the exhaust itself. When fuel combusts, it combusts into a series of different gases and things, particulate matter, CO2, nitrous oxides, a little bit of methane and other gases. It's the ratios between those, the blends of those that tell you how well your combustion is happening.
Okay.
And then if you understand the correlation those with disparate data sets and what that engine's doing, you can start to understand, hey, I think I see an engine failure occurring. I have high nitrous oxide levels. Why? Because this flame curtain is really high. And the way we know this is we have these wildly smart PhDs in chemical engineering and mechanical engineering and data scientists, naval architecture who've come together through all the research and said, this is what happens in the combustion process. Here's what we're monitoring coming out of that exhaust. And everybody said, well, who cares? Well, we care. And now we turn that into insights. And the idea is, in the shipping industry, you have these major regulatory mandates, reduced emissions, save fuel. And that's not hitting the yacht world just yet as much, but it's coming.
It's coming.
Oh, yeah.
And so in the meantime, we improve uptime. We improve readiness of the yacht, guarantee that yacht's going to be available. And for the charter fleets of the world, who are competing on these things, well, that's a differentiator to them. If they get early warning and they can ensure that when, the A-list celebrities come, that yacht is ready and they can guarantee it, their confidence. And that's a defining value for that brand.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think what we believe in here jointly is that this is the future. Just like data penetrated engines, it's now starting to penetrate.
And I know one of your clients, on the first ship installed your system and they were able to increase fuel efficiency, whatever, 5%, 10%, which is mucho dinero. And then immediately equipping on the rest of their fleet. That customer gets it. Yacht management companies.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you have a fleet of 14 vessels? I mean, we're right here in Fort Lauderdale, stone's throw away from all the big yards. There's no shortage of work or to be done. And if we can add value to those clients by preventing the catastrophic thing, it's just better for everybody. It's a win-win for everybody. Like, I got a wearable Whoop strap, you got Apple Health, whatever. It's collecting data on you.
Yep.
And every week or every month, you get a report of what works and what doesn't work. And then you can see, okay, well, every time I drink 5 glasses of wine before bed, I wake up feeling crappy. Okay, maybe I can work on it. It's right. It's like getting a blood test on your doctor. His technology can read the exhaust and tell you based on 1, 2, 3, these are your issues. This is what you need to look at.
This is why you need to go to the doctor or go to DeAngelo to get checked out.
But then you think about connecting the marine industry just for a second. Talk about what Marine Research Hub does. You can think about that through a data systems perspective. right now, if you can equip the yachts with exhaust, you start getting understanding the big data behind them. Is there a pattern here? What is it? Why are these exhaust systems always failing, in this one part of Bimini? Well, maybe because it's 3 or 4 feet deep and they keep coming in, but it's beautiful in Honeymoon Harbor, right? So maybe that's something we can uncover and help warn geotagging. Say, hey, be careful here. Your draft is 5 feet. It's going to be 6 feet deep there. And so just a little bit of data at a macro scale helps us understand that. And then you go a little bit deeper than that. There's a ton of other service providers, right? So, and not just DeAngelo, but marine mechanics, engine repair specialists, right? How do you get them involved in the data stream so that not only can you predict engine failure, predict exhaust failures, help service that, but then trigger all the professionals who rely on that to get in touch with the owners faster on better terms? The way I see SailPlan is powering an ecosystem here of connected providers that all kind of benefit from data and shared data in near real time.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like very open source. You could tap into all of it. That's the beauty of the system.
Correct.
Yeah. And you get like you said, data is much more readily available. You can get those notifications. I mean, there's pretty much nowhere that does not have service anymore on the water. And so you can be sitting here in DeAngelo and you have your exhaust systems on boats throughout the Caribbean, and you will see that notification at the same time that the captain can
we'll
see
get a
that.
Dashboard all real time, and we can set it up to send it text messages, emails, phone calls, however they want.
And that is going to save a lot of money, because it does cost. I mean, by the time they catch it, it's normally it's too late. It's going to cost a haul out most times, right? It's going to go.
You might miss a charter.
How much time it costs. But then think about, I mean, it's the black smoke and all that exhaust, all that stuff that we don't want environmentally to also be in. Having this information is going to have a very big positive impact on the environmental aspects as well as the fuel aspects.
It's more than predictive maintenance. It'll allow for preventative maintenance. You're going to know before what's going to blow before it does. So
one of the things that we've learned about the data is a lot of the technology, the sensors are already there on these vessels. A lot of people today have fuel leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you may not have smart exhaust, but I highly recommend checking it out.
right.
For sure.
Because it is a game changer, but you can start integrating the other sensors that you already have on your ship. So it's not just the exhaust. You can bring in your torque, right, from your propellers. You can bring in your RPMs. You can bring in your fuel consumption.
Vibration is another big one.
Right. Well, what happens then is you can actually start understanding when you have a fouled hull and when it really needs to be
When it
cleaned.
really does.
Because we can monitor the changes in your performance, not in fuel consumption over speed. And so maybe you're having that hull diver come out a little too often, right? You may not need that hull cleaned every 4 weeks in winter. Maybe it's every 2 months, but in summer you have to pick it up. The answer is buried in the data. One thing we've identified is before engines fail, there's something in the specific fuel consumption curve that we've identified. We see the curve actually change shape and shift upwards. And this happens over time. And we're able to look at that, measure a 5-10% shift in that, proactively get in touch with our customer. And one of the biggest shifts we saw recently, we said something's wrong with our data. And it turns out we weren't wrong. Our data wasn't wrong. They were starting to lose an injector.
Oh.
And so we saw the curve just explode into like what looked like random data. It actually triggered an alarm out to the chief engineer aboard this vessel, who said everything looks fine. It turns out, no, it wasn't fine. They lost an injector. On average, they got to that problem 15 days before they would have known otherwise based on their standard monthly fuel consumption test. And this is game changing for the industry. So you start with one piece and then it grows. You start with smart exhaust, you get a smart ship.
Yeah.
You start getting insights, and that alone is a ton of savings and justification for putting a very affordable system on your exhaust and your ship to begin with.
Yeah,
So,
the return on investment you put in the system, it may seem like it costs more at the beginning, but it will pay off in the end. But that's a lot of things, right? It's an investment with the return coming down the line at some point in that time.
the one pushback I get sometimes is, well, we have logs, we have log books. And I said, well, Does your CFO use pen and paper still to track your expenses? No, he uses QuickBooks. Well, the QuickBooks is a data system for your finances. You have a very expensive asset, right? That you really want to have operational at the top of its game. Well, SailPlan and DeAngelo are a lot like an accounting system, a QuickBooks for your vessel. It keeps it accountable. It keeps your teams accountable, and it's all backed by data. So I like to think about that when people are like, yeah, I don't think I want my CFO or accountant working on pen and paper anymore. We take for granted that data's everywhere, except on your ships.
Yeah. And it's about utilizing the data and collecting it. And like you said, being able to predict things that are happening or to see now you've seen that spike. Now you know that for future events as well.
That's true.
So now that I understand even the smart exhaust a little bit better, I've heard about it. We've talked about it a lot, but now I feel like it's just definitely all kind of coming together a little bit more. But I want to talk a little bit about this ecosystem of why you both are in this space. I mean, you could have just stayed in your lane and been doing diesel exhaust systems. You could have, not even founded SailPlan, but you both have a passion for the blue economy, the marine space. I mean, you both are sponsors, partners for Marine Research Hub. You not only give money and resources to our organization and help build up the ecosystem, you give your time sitting here today. You both, every time I call you to speak at any engagement I have, you're like, I'm there. I want you both to kind of say why are you doing this? Why is this important to you? So Justin, we'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's fun. It's fun. I'm very aware that we're making exhaust systems for diesel engines. It's very business. You see the black plumes come out. So we got to be, like Jacob mentioned earlier, we got to be thinking ahead. What's the next thing? And the emission control and all that, that's big time. That's coming. AI is coming. I want to be a part of that. And I know that I'm not smart enough to do that. So I know to get around smart people. The Marine Industry Association we talked about, Marine Research Hub. I'm attending one of these ocean exchange events. This guy's talking. I'm like, oh my God, that's it right there. And it's about if we're still making exhaust systems in the next 10 years, I've done something wrong. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? How can we improve it? I'd love to fix all the exhaust systems forever and charge everybody retail on that. But the truth is, I would want to add value to you so we get used more often. And if I could prevent the catastrophic breakdown, that's even better for me. So, and then getting to work with an established company and watching things happen, it's like, I'm not stuck. We want to get into automated welding. We've got automated welders now. 3D scanning is a big one. We got 3D scanning. That stuff is fun. And then watching all these guys in here, who most of them I've known since I was in high school, working summer jobs here, plus and elbows. These guys are still around. And, to give it to them and watch them play with robots now instead of banging on a hammer and getting back to them, for me, it's more like a feel-good thing. It's like very much like a small family business. So watching it grow and being a part of Marine Research Hub, going to Ocean Exchange, like I told you before, with all the doom and gloom that's going on in the world, like, everybody Google Ocean Exchange and go to the next one. You're going to see young kids buttoned up, presenting projects that they've worked on with proven results already, 3D printing seawalls, automated robots to clean the hulls of boats, all kinds of stuff you can get from seaweed. And you walk away from that 2-3 day event and you're like, oh, maybe the future's not doomed. And so it inspires you to do more with what you can, and everybody can play a role. And so it's, if you hang around people with negative outlooks, you're going to have a negative outlook. You hang around funny people, you're going to laugh more. So if we're hanging around people that are really invested in changing the future, then that's all for the better. And that's, for me, that's the fun stuff. It's not fun being in the office, emails and meetings. No, let's get out there and let's do something. I want to see something. I want to talk about a smart marine exhaust, and then I want to see one on a boat. And then I want to talk to the captain and say, man, you know what? That thing saved me. I don't know what. I didn't even know the injector was blown, and here I am. And now I got a big tip from the owner. It was great.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
All right. So now you got to follow up that. Jacob, you've been as an entrepreneur in this space, obviously, you have a heart and passion for the blue economy. So why do you do what you do? Why do you support this ecosystem? And the founder, you have Founding Blue. Almost, that is a huge piece of what you're also trying to give back into the ecosystem is support the entrepreneurs and the founders on their journey. So Yeah, talk a little bit about that. Share.
So it comes from like a deeply personal reason. One is, I think there's a bug. He likes me.
I think he's done it. It's honest.
He's fine. He's joining the podcast. We need to give him a mic. For me, it's about, I care so much about our oceans, right? From a personal level, from enjoying them and wanting to help protect them. But from helping the community, that comes from the struggles I had starting our business.
Yeah.
Right. So, when I looked at starting a business, I realized for a software business and a high growth software business, especially in leveraging data and AI, there was a lot of investment up front to build this. And I didn't have that network. I couldn't just call my buddies in Silicon Valley and say, hey, I got a great thing. I didn't have the pedigree. I didn't go to Harvard or Stanford or any of the other schools that are like your shoe-ins for VC funding. So I had to think differently. And those lessons I carry on me as, battle scars. We made it through. And now I turn back and I can take all this information and these stories and share them with other people building in this space so that hopefully, the top of the top there can get the same access to those networks, because a warm introduction is worth its weight in gold. And being able to introduce you to 20 or 30 or 50 potential investors can mean the difference between, really slow growth and eventually having a really small lifestyle business, which may be great, but undersell its impact and actually being able to change the world and that ecosystem that I'm so passionate about. We're so passionate about. So that's why I do it. That's why Marine Research Hub, happy to sponsor it, because playing a role in connecting the organizations here, like you did for Justin and I, is a critical piece of that. I started founding Blue with the intent of providing education, mentorship, and connections for pathways to capital to the most promising entrepreneurs here in South Florida building in the ocean space. And it's just one way of adding to that big ecosystem of support organizations that are here to help founders and entrepreneurs grow.
No.
And there's no better place to do it.
It's true. And you said, the Silicon Valley. Well, we have basically the Silicon Valley of the blue economy here in Florida. I mean, South Florida and Florida is at the heart of all these impacts from climate change, with sea level rise. We have needs for infrastructure and food supply and our coral reef, right here in our backyard. There's so much opportunity here. And you're right. Like, that's the goal of the hub, is to really connect those different sectors and build businesses here and really good paying jobs. They're going to take care of some of our greatest and tackle some of our greatest challenges, but in, like what you said earlier, hopeful.
Yeah.
These solutions are amazing. And there might be solutions all over the world, and they could pilot and test and build here in Florida. And that's, one of the things that why we work within the ecosystem, supporting ocean exchange and helping the connections happen. Because, a great idea that just sits on a shelf and in a lab is never going to go anywhere and have an impact. And I think you guys are a testament to that, even, taking a great idea and basically looking at it from a different perspective as well. We talk a lot about, dual purpose or dual case uses of things. And I think people need to hear that story of you guys, just thought that, a diesel exhaust system could be smart and that it could actually be environmentally, important and friendly if we're just putting in some of these solutions. We can't change, we're not getting rid of it, but if we can make it more efficient and more environmentally friendly at the same time, saving money, it's going to be game changer all over.
One of the I would love to see Marine Research Hub do is help scale these things, because if we can make a connection here, all the other companies around here in the kind of the Tri-County area could do the same thing. What we should probably do is get a founders, entrepreneurs, marine industry speed dating session going through.
You a speed dating session? Okay, so
we get everybody together and we just have this, because I bet you'd make 20 more connections. And it's already a pivotal organization here.
Yeah.
I just want to see it even grow more because it is so critical.
Well, that's what we will always, start. Okay, we'll start sponsoring. We could do something at, the boat show is a great time, to do stuff like that.
Good idea.
And so one of the questions is, how are you guys, getting out the message, and what's the reception from the industry on some of this already? I mean, let's be very clear though, that you just unveiled the smart exhaust less than a year ago, less than a year ago. So I want to what's been the feedback so far?
Feedback's been great. I mean, we're trying to push this out. It's a new product. We have some in beta testing, want some more.
Oh.
But, the sales folks, I always tell them, hey, don't leave a boat without at least mentioning it. I don't want to be the pushy sales company, but, we want to get that message out. And the more people we know, you were talking about it. And as you were talking, I was thinking, when I first came here and I was trying to network and do all that, it's very intimidating, especially if you're new to it and you don't know everybody. But then the more you go, the more people you meet. Marine Research Hub is kind of like the center of influence. We could connect some dots. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
We have great organizations. And I can think of YPY is another good one.
The Marine Industries Association. That's how you and I met, was when you joined the board of Marine Industries Association. I said, come to Ocean Exchange. I was like, you need to come. We met, we've talked before Ocean Exchange, but we really started talking more. And so all of these pieces are here in Florida, all the pieces to the puzzle. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's just about breaking down, I think Jacob, I can't remember which one of you said, it's some areas are kind of siloed a little bit in various sectors, but then, look at the big picture of even more siloed. And so that's one of the things, is being able to, bring the academic and the research into the business, into the VCs and funders, the government and policy. What do they need? What does the industry need? What do the yacht, builders and engineers and all those different sectors, what do they need?
And the more you get out, the more you find out. Yeah. So it's one thing to knock on doors and cold call. I hate it when people do it to me. I hate doing it to people. It's so cringy. It's another thing to be at a networking event and a guy like Phil Purcell says, hey, this is this person. Say hello. Oh, send me more information. You don't even have to send anything. So getting everybody involved, you realize where the deficiencies are and what needs value. And admissions, just for me and hearing Jacob, I'm like, that's it. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need smart exhaust systems. How can I, for me, I got to look ahead. How do we scale DeAngelo Marine Exhaust? It's hard what we do. Everything is custom.
Yeah.
Every exhaust system is different. They've got to be designed differently. How can I scale that? Well, that's going to be tough unless I can go to a South Florida Manufacturers Association event about AI in manufacturing, and I can see somebody talking about it. I go, oh, that might work. Hey, would you mind coming to my company and present? And, if I could take a picture of some of this and have my designers use AI to already map out a route.
Yeah.
And then download that to an information and feed my automated welders. Because, our fabricators, they're not getting any younger. And it's very hard what we do here. It's sheet metal fabrication at the highest level. This is not something that the next generation is coming up with. So we got to make that easier if we want to scale. So we need technology. We need to leverage all that to be able to grow and get better and reach wider markets to ultimately provide more value to the customer.
Yeah.
All that can happen, like with the smart marine exhaust system. I think that if we can hit a few of these targets that we're talking to, it'll just become the next best thing.
It'll take off. I mean, it's an industry that is a little slower to change, I think, as you said earlier. But I see, more people taking notice of new innovation, new technology.
It's going to take a crew with a forward-thinking captain and a real techie engineer who love this kind of stuff. Not all crews are like that. And so we want to target those. We don't just want to give this away to everybody. We want to find the right fit, work with them for a while,
make it work
to how they want. And then they're going to tell their friends, and their friends are going to tell their friends. And then the yacht management company sees dollar signs and what they can save. The cruise line industry.
Well, it's just like you said, that warm introduction, but also that wet recommendation from friend, captain to captain, from crew to crew. That's a big thing as well. So as we're kind of wrapping up on our time, I feel like we get, I love just hanging out and chatting with you guys. And we can do more of this as, you guys obviously have new technology, because both of you are forward thinking, thinking long-term about company, about the ecosystem here with the blue economy and the ocean innovation and spaces. But Yeah. What's on the horizon for both, individually, SailPlan, DeAngelo, or together? Where do you guys see the future or the future of blue economy and the space you guys are in? Kind of big takeaway. I know that was like a 3-part question in one.
It's
So
fine.
whatever you decide you want to land on and share.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. We talked about some of the great things about our area, South Florida. Is it the third largest barrier reef?
Our largest barrier reef in the world is right outside our back door.
Yeah, I mean, the weather, I know it's a little humid in here today, but it's like this year round. We have prehistoric aquifers underneath us, right? We have everything. We have the infrastructure. We have all this. And so I know we've talked about, well, what do we need to do first? Do we need to bring in the funding first, or do we need to, spread the word? How does that work? The good news is we have all the advantage. So what do I see as the future? Man, using AI technologies for us about scale. We want to move where we have been historically known for the pleasure craft at the yachts to more of the military contracts.
Didn't you say that some of the stuff that you have in the back there is for military?
For the
The
past
Coast Guard?
30 plus years, we've been delivering to the Coast Guard. That's one of our biggest customers, and a lot more military projects that we probably can't talk about, but getting to design and engineer for these folks. And that, I believe, will help us get to the next level to grow and, open up the next DeAngelo and open up the next DeAngelo. So it's really good times now. We're very much in a growth phase, and to utilize all the resources we have around us, like Marine Research Hub, like all these organizations, like Founding Blue, which is totally cool. I mean, that's going to be just a no-brainer for all parties involved. That's what I see.
I see similar things. I see that we are actually the land of opportunity. We always talk about how we have the center of the marine industry, and that's all true. But what does it mean as we go through this enormous change that's coming down upon us, right? Some people call it like the forced turning. And with AI coming, how do we get ahead of that in this space specifically? How do we leverage it? That's what I've been spending a lot of time trying to think about. I actually just came across a company that was doing 3D printed metal structures for the government. And I was like, I actually have to introduce you, because I was like, wait, could they 3D print exhaust? Right? Instead of having to bend the sheet metal, can you actually 3D print this out of metal powder? And it was mind boggling, right? And so you start looking at those technologies that will modernize these businesses. Somebody's going to try doing that, like it or not, at some point. Yeah. It's going to change the whole industry. So I think my first thing is take an expansive definition of the blue economy. Yeah. A lot of us focus in on the resilience and the climate impacts, but that's a disservice to what built South Florida here in the first place. We can't forget the businesses that are already here. We have to include that.
Integrate everything.
And make them a part of the change. Yeah. Because they're here for a reason. They've succeeded for 39 years, right? Yep. For a reason. Yeah. So that's critical. The second thing is embrace new technologies. Jobs are one important part, but we want the technologies to be based here. We're doing that really successfully in Miami right now with some of the big Bitcoin tech companies and blockchain technologies. Broward has the opportunity to bring that in for the marine industry. Yeah. We should leverage that. And then finally, there's a set of skill sets here that can be upskilled to keep workers relevant, to increase paychecks, and to fulfill national security needs. I'll give you one great example. Nuclear certified welders there's a drought. We can't build submarines or aircraft carriers in the volume that we even need to. Ignore the funding concerns for a second, because there are not enough of these nuclear certified welders. But we have the infrastructure here. We have a lot of the people. We can upskill them, and this place can start building, submarines and equipments for nuclear powered aircraft carriers in the next couple of years. And that's going to change South Florida, I think, even for the better. And so I think we're in the land of opportunity here. We just gotta, we gotta accelerate. Yeah. And
to follow up on that, the answer is yes, you can 3D print an exhaust level. I want to say like 5-6 years ago, we had somebody come in and show us that. It was very expensive. I said 5-6 years ago, it's probably time to revisit, because I'm willing to bet as time goes on, that'll become more affordable. And you're right, that would be the future.
I just saw the machine. It's this massive machine, and they're now doing pieces up to 4 or 5 feet in length. Wow. You can even get some of the larger exhausts in there. It's incredible. And you can build structures that are not possible to design otherwise, like heat sinks
Right.
that are this crazy because they're built out of this powder metal that builds up in layers and it kind of prints over.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting technology. Think about how it's going to change all of our businesses here.
Everything.
So the leaders will be the folks like Justin that embrace the technologies early, because everybody else it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
So
Very true. Very true. So opportunity, acceleration, collaboration, those are all kind of keywords that we've been talking about a lot. And it's also just, utilizing our relationship capital and networks and making some of those introductions, because I also found that you just don't know where an introduction might lead to. And I'll be like, oh, I know somebody you need to meet, So I think that being open to just kind of meeting people and being able to be that connector is so.
You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you want to be in the room.
Yes. And I don't need to be involved in everything. I just like to hear all the good stuff that's going on. And this was one of the really great things. When I remember just you guys telling me that you guys are working together, I was, oh my gosh, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Like just out of the blue.
Yeah.
You guys are already, started meeting and having discussions. And here we are almost a year since you guys unveiled the smart exhaust system and things. So I know we could keep talking about everything and what you guys are doing and how you're going to continue to support this ecosystem, but we're going to wrap it up, and we'll maybe have another one when we talk about looking at, more technology that you guys are innovating and all the amazing tools that you are both, connecting and elevating in the space that you're in. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us for our third episode of the Blue Economy podcast. I thank, Jacob and Justin for joining us, and we will see you next time as we dive into more on the Blue Economy. Thank you.
Hey folks, real excited to be here with you today. We're on a boat. I'm here with Jacob, founder and CEO of SailPlan. I'm Justin with DeAngelo Marine Exhaust, and we're here to talk about a new product that we've been developing. We got the equipment installed here. It's gonna be the world's first smart exhaust system. Jacob, tell us about SailPlan and everything you do.
So on this boat, we're actually monitoring health metrics around your exhaust in real time, helping you avoid expensive exhaust failures and make sure your systems are operating at optimal performance. We're measuring temperatures, pressures, and flow rates to ensure that your exhaust is healthy. And we were actually born in the shipping industry. Today, we work with some of the world's largest cruise lines, container lines, oil tankers, and more. And we adapted this technology to bring that high-resolution, real-time data from that industry down to the pleasure yacht market.
Regular exhaust systems, when you have a problem, let's say you lose cooling water, you're not gonna know about it. Your captain and crew, they're never gonna know about it. Weeks are gonna go by, you're gonna start cooking up all your fiberglass. When that happens, it's too late. Now you gotta haul out the boat. Very costly repairs. What this smart exhaust system is gonna do, we got the technology from SailPlan and we've integrated it into our exhaust systems. You're gonna be like an app-based subscription where you get automated text messages and notifications the second anything goes wrong. Combine that with monthly and weekly health reports where you'll be able to optimize your engine settings, save fuel costs, again, avoid expensive repairs, and we think it's really gonna be a game changer. We're excited to be here today to announce it to you, and we'd love to show you what it looks like.
So this smart exhaust data can come to you across the web. You can receive text messages when alerts are forming in near real time. And then you can also check your monthly health report on your mobile device or your laptops, pretty much anywhere you're at.
And like Jacob was saying, you're gonna know instantly if those pressures have spiked. You're gonna know if the back pressure shoots up for whatever reason. And then additionally, as time goes on, you're gonna figure out what engine settings are the best for you. You're gonna save money. You're gonna save costly expenses on downtime and repairs. Just ultimately a smart exhaust system that's gonna do a lot of the data capturing for you so you don't have to worry about it. Now the standard smart exhaust system powered by SailPlan is gonna come measuring a few things, right? We're gonna measure cooling water to the mixer tanks. We're gonna measure exhaust gas temperatures, and we're gonna measure back pressure. We can also add on additionally sensors if you wanna measure other things. For example, particulate matter. You wanna know what the makeup of your exhaust is. The vibration. We can configure anything to fit your typical boat. Give us a call if you're interested in this new smart exhaust system.